some of my other classes have determined that Garvey's been a better father than his real dad. But he did make up with his mom. Him and his mom are on good terms. And what happened to his dad?
His dad went to jail, but he got out. His dad went to jail, but got himself out because he's really rich.
Yeah, so his dad went to jail for child abuse, but he immediately got bailed out because he's powerful and rich.
But his mom and dad got
Wait, hang on. You what?
How did he get bailed out?
I'm sure his lawyer. So.
You can't bail out yourself.
And now his mom and dad are divorced, and now
Well, his parents have been divorced. So, all right, we pick up on chapter 15. That is page 149.
Oh, and his mom stopped drinking.
His mom did stop drinking, so. All right. Cole says, I was mad, Cole said, glancing nervously around the circle. When I went to the island, I wasn't thinking straight. I didn't realize you were all trying to help me. I thought sending me away was just your way of getting rid of me. I went there just to avoid jail. Cole struggled with his words. I know now I was wrong, and I know I can't go back to the island after what I did. That's okay. As he handed the feather to his mother, strong doubt showed in the eyes of the circle members. He had lied to them so often, they were numb to his words. I know Cole has changed some, his mother began, her voice surprisingly strong. Since the attack, I've seen a difference in his attitude. For the first time, he's talked openly with me. I don't know what should happen to him now. I feel like I'm just trying to pick up the pieces myself. She dabbed at her eyes. I just hope there are pieces left to pick up. She handed the feather on. As each member spoke, nobody argued for Cole's release. Even Cole's lawyer spoke in terms of a reduced jail term for good behavior. Each circle member expressed regret for what had happened. All of them thought it was time to return the case to the courts. The only person to speak in Cole's defense was Garvey. I don't know what all happened on the island, he said, but there has been a change in Cole. Of that, I'm sure. Whatever we decide to do, I hope this change is allowed to continue. When Peter's lawyer received the feather, she held it indifferently beside her, as if it no longer held meaning. This whole thing has to stop now, she said strongly. No more. Too many people have suffered and paid a price on account of Cole Matthews. Maybe someday he'll find a way to be a productive member of society. For now, it's the welfare of society that must be considered. 2 days on an island is hardly enough time to change someone. This circle needs to know that Peter Driscoll is not rehabilitating well, either physically or emotionally. He has slurred speech and diminished coordination. This is Cole's fault. It's not something Cole can fix, but he can face the consequences. Even now, he refuses to admit the complete truth. I understand the claims that a pure white bear attacked him. Does he really expect anybody to believe such a thing? I'm told that no such bear exists in the area he was sent. The lawyer spoke firmly. Circle justice has proven to be a waste of time. It's time for Cole to face real consequences. She handed the feather back to the keeper. How do you feel about Cole's lawyer after that? Do you agree with her, or do you think she's being a little dramatic?
Hold on, that's Cole's.
I meant Peter's lawyer. You're right. Sorry, Julian.
Yeah,
Peter's lawyer. She's being a little dramatic. I mean, she's not wrong, but
she's just saying that because she's Peter Driscoll's.
That's true.
She thinks about how she's
So it'll get.
But she's right about Peter, though. Peter's not doing very well, and does Cole still need to be punished for what he did?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, she's not wrong, but she is being a little dramatic. Yeah.
And then they still need a punishment.
He still needs to be punished. It's like if someone went to jail and they got hurt as bad as Cole, does he just get to get out of jail if he murdered like 5 people?
That's also true. That's a really good point. Because people get attacked in jail all the time, and they don't get released. They go to the hospital.
But they don't get their chest torn open and all that.
People, yeah. So, did you have a question?
No, I was gonna say something, but I forgot.
Okay. All right. If you remember, let me know. All right. Page 151, paragraph 2. The keeper ran her fingers over the feather to straighten it, as if trying to fix the damage suffered by the circle. When she finished, she turned to Edwin. Do you have anything to share? Edwin nodded. Can I ask Cole to help me with a demonstration? When the keeper nodded, Edwin stood and walked to the open end of the room. He motioned for Cole to follow him. Every eye followed their movements. Okay, the Klingit elder began. Let's pretend this line is life. He pointed out a seam in the linoleum flooring that crossed the room. He placed Cole on one side and stood himself on the other. Cole and I are going to walk the length of this line as if going through life together. This line represents a bad path that Cole and I want to move away from. I have 2 ways to get him away. Edwin began leaning into Cole as they walked forward. Cole instinctively pushed back. They walked forward, pushing on each other harder and harder. Soon, they were both struggling. When they reached the other end, Edwin had succeeded in pushing Cole only a couple of feet away from the line. Breathing hard, Cole eyed Edwin with distrust. Okay, let's walk the other direction and try to do the same thing in a different way, Edwin said. As Cole turned, suddenly Edwin rushed at him and shoved him hard with both hands. The push sent Cole sprawling to the floor, yards away from the line. Startled, Cole scrambled to get to his feet. Edwin offered a hand and helped him up. Cole fought the urge to hit or shove the elder. You caught me off guard, he said. Edwin smiled slightly. Yes, life does that a lot. He turned to the group. People change in 2 ways, with slow, persistent pressure, or with a single and sudden traumatic experience. That's why people often change so much when they have a near-death experience. I believe something significant happened to Cole on the island. 6 months ago, he would have come up off the floor swinging after a push like that. Edwin paused, rubbing his rough hand over his stubbled chin. And yes, maybe people don't change completely overnight, but I do believe they can change direction overnight. Facing in a new direction is the first step of any new journey.
Thanks, that's smart.
He always gives you, what signpost is that? Words of the wiser. Every time, like I said, every time Edwin speaks, he just drops knowledge. So, all right, page 153. How can we be sure Cole has found a new direction? The keeper asked. We've heard this claim before. He still claims he saw a white bear. Isn't that proof he is still lying to us? Edwin turned to Cole as they returned to the circle. Did you see a spirit bear? Cole thought a moment. He could lie and they would all believe him. Or he could tell the truth and they would all think he still lied. You don't need to think about the truth, said Edwin. I saw a spirit bear and I touched it, Cole blurted out. A thin smile pulled at Edwin's lips. That should be all the proof you need, exclaimed Peter's lawyer, although she no longer held the feather. That should be the last time this circle needs to sit here and listen to lies. Edwin spoke. 3 weeks ago, the crew of a fishing boat returning to Drake claimed they had seen a white bear on an island near where Cole was banished. I might have questioned the report if one of the crew hadn't been Bernie. Well, who's Bernie? Asked the keeper. Edwin waved a hand. Just a friend, but I've known Bernie my whole life, and he's not a man to lie. I don't care if there's a black bear, a white bear, or a yellow one with green polka dots, said Peter's lawyer. What matters is that Cole broke his contract with the circle, and now it's time for him to pay. We gave him chance after chance, and at the same time, we tell him he has to face the consequences of his actions. The lawyer raised her voice almost to a shout. No more chances. Cole breathed slowly. He felt strong enough now to face whatever happened. He was strong enough not to blame anybody else. He could admit that he was no longer in control, and he knew he could tell the truth. But could he control his anger? Even now, it smoldered. The keeper spoke with a rigid voice. We can't just build another cabin, buy more supplies, and start over as if nothing ever happened. Circle justice isn't blind. It's about facing consequences. Why don't we just send him away to Disney World for a year? Said Peter's lawyer sarcastically. This time there would be no free ride, Edwin said. If we sent him back to the island, Cole would build his own cabin and pay for every penny of the supplies by selling things he owns and values. It would be much harder than before. The keeper spoke with resignation. We have no way of knowing if Cole is over his anger. Cole motioned for the feather. I know I had a chance once and messed up, so I don't expect to go back to the island. He shook his head. Edwin told me once that anger was a memory never forgotten. He's right. When I was mauled, I didn't get over my anger. I still feel it, even now. sitting here in this chair. But I've also learned it takes a stronger person to ask for help and to tell the truth. I am telling the truth when I say I saw a spirit bear. So there's a little break. So I just want to ask you guys, show of hands. Do you think Cole deserves another chance to go back to the island? Raise your hand if you think yes. And raise your hand if you agree with the circle and think that he needs to be like sent to the courts for them to determine.
Because if he goes back to the island, what if something else tries to hit him, or he tries to be stupid and the bear comes back?
What if he can't control his anger?
Listen.
Yes. Well, he's not gonna be able to fight back. Then he's just gonna die and what would
Then he's just gonna avoid it.
All right. Yeah, that is true. So then it just dies. All right. So we'll read on and we'll find out. So during the following weeks, not weeks. So he's in the detention center this whole time. Cole mentally prepared himself for the inevitable. He imagined attending a trial and hearing the verdict. Guilty. He imagined being led in handcuffs from the courtroom and for the first time being locked into a real jail cell. The hardest thing was to imagine being locked up day after day, week after week, month after month. While page 155. While Cole worked through his feelings, he exercised. For long hours each morning and evening, he lay on a small bed, swinging his arms and legs, arching his back, and stretching to keep his body from stiffening. Midday, he worked out on weights in the center group area. He found himself growing stronger, and he found that when he had angry thoughts, he could exercise himself into a sweaty frenzy until pain from his joints drove away his thoughts and left him spent. No amount of exercise, however, could bring strength back into Cole's right arm and hand. It was all he could do to lift a shirt. Garvey explained to Cole after the second gathering that the circle would continue meeting without him. He wouldn't say exactly why, but he did say that Edwin had remained in Minneapolis to attend the meetings. During the next 2 weeks, Edwin stopped by to visit several times. He never said much, but he studied Cole the way a person looks at a chessboard planning the next move. When he smokes, I can't read that. When he spoke, he asked pointed questions without explaining himself. After each visit, he left without saying goodbye, and all he ever mumbled was, "Gotta go." Nathaniel Blackwood stopped by unexpectedly one day to announce he would no longer be Cole's lawyer. Cole's father had refused to pay additional legal fees, and now a public defender would be assigned. Barely 2 days later, Garvey and Edwin stopped by together. They sat down on Cole's bed and stared at him. So, if you guys don't know, not saying that public defenders are bad, but he had a big fancy lawyer that his dad paid for it. And the big fancy lawyer, if he was to go to court, could have probably got him a reduced jail sentence, a lower punishment. But with a public defender, they're less likely to get that. So his jail sentence would be longer. So
Did he do that on purpose?
his dad,
The lawyer.
the lawyer just wasn't getting, his dad refused to pay him. So he didn't.
Did his dad do it on purpose?
What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, his dad was like, well, I'm not going to pay that anymore. So, all right.
Because he was sent to jail because of Cole.
Yeah. So, barely 2 days later, Garvey and Edwin stopped by together. They sat down on Cole's bed and stared at him. "What are you staring at?" Cole asked. "So, you think you're changed, huh?" grunted Edwin. "What difference does it make?" said Cole. He looked down at his feet. "I feel different." "How so?" said Garvey. "It's hard to explain," Cole said. "You better try." Edwin's voice left no room for discussion. Cole quit trying to think of answers with his head and instead let his feelings answer. "After I was mauled, when I thought I was going to die, I felt like just a plant or something, like I wasn't important. I didn't know why I even existed. That scared me. I know it doesn't make any sense, but I realized that I was dying and I had never really even lived. Nobody had trusted me. I had never loved anybody, and nobody had ever really loved me." Edwin and Garvey exchanged a glance. "So, how did that change things?" Garvey asked. "I don't know," Cole said, emotions welling up from deep inside. "I really don't know. I just know that my dad's not going to ever come back to say he's sorry. Even if he did, he couldn't change what he did. He couldn't take away the memories." "So you think this is all his fault, huh?" asked Edwin. "No," said Cole, his voice trembling. "Mom said his parents beat him up too." I don't know where the anger all started. All I know is I don't ever want to have a kid and beat him up. Cole wiped at his eyes. What makes you think you're better than your dad or his parents? Asked Garvey. I am no better, Cole said. I'm worse. Dad never ended up in jail. Not yet, said Garvey. So if you are worse, what makes you think things can be different for you? Cole swallowed hard. Maybe they can't be. Maybe I'll never change. All I know is that things happened on the island that I can't explain. I've never been so scared. When Edwin and Garvey didn't answer, Cole found himself irritated. What's with all the questions? He asked. You two are wasting your time now. Are we? Edwin asked. Cole fought back the tears, blurring his vision. You two are the only ones who ever cared about me. It's not like I don't appreciate what you're doing, but I screwed everything up. I'm going to jail. Can't you see that? Why don't you just leave me alone now and quit wasting your time? Garvey cleared his throat strongly and rubbed at his neck. Edwin and I are probably the two biggest fools alive. Or maybe we remember our own past too well, Edwin added. We still believe in you and think there's hope, Garvey said. Because of that, we've stuck our necks out so far, we feel like two giraffes. Last night, we convinced the Circle to release you to our custody. What do you mean, your custody? Cole asked. You're going back to the island, Edwin said.
Yeah!